Welcome to the club, ladies. The one that no one wants to join, the Divorce Club. I have some good news for you. There is a path to find hope, healing, and happiness, no matter what your circumstances are. I'm Jen Zingmark, a Christian life coach, and I can help you find joy in your journey. So let's go. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Joy in the Journey with Jen, episode 1. Life is always 50-50. I'm a Christian woman, wife, and a mother of 5 children and a Gigi to one precious little grandson. And I know from personal experience how difficult it can be to keep your faith and have hope for the future while dealing with divorce. At one time, I was a single mom with 3 young children and struggled to raise my children, keep it all together, maintain my self-confidence, and heal from the loss of my spouse, and find happiness in my own life. But I was able to do it. And it is possible for anyone that's willing to put in the work to do exactly the same thing. I help women dealing with the trials of divorce, and I can offer hope, healing, and happiness no matter what your circumstances are. So let's talk about negative emotions. For some reason, we mistakenly have the idea that we should feel happy and positive all the time. Like life should just be amazing all the time. But this sneaky little idea actually is not correct and can really bring us a lot of heartache and headache in our lives if we buy in to this false theory. Life, as we all know, can be beautiful and disastrous all in the same day. But many of us buy into the philosophies of prevalent in the world today, and we think that things should always just be wonderful and that we should feel good all of the time. But as we all know from scripture, in Genesis, God told Adam and Eve that when they partake of the fruit, that their eyes would be opened and they shall be as the gods, knowing good and evil. This is the way God designed our lives to be. We need to know good and evil. We need to understand that there's always going to be good and bad in every person's life. And that's okay. That's wonderful. That's perfect. When we think about this in terms of our emotions, half of the day or half of the week of our lives, we are going to experience positive emotion. We're going to feel excitement and joy and peace and calm and clarity. And half is going to be negative. We're going to feel sadness and grief and sorrow and anxiousness and overwhelm. And this is exactly how life is supposed to be. Nothing has gone wrong if we are experiencing negative emotions half of the time. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. One of the reasons for negative emotions is so that we can understand and appreciate positive emotions. It's the reason for opposition in all things, so that we will enjoy and recognize those positive emotions when we have them and appreciate them. And something that's very important to this concept is when we recognize that half of our lives are supposed to be negative, we can accept negative emotions and not resist them and try not to allow them in our lives. This causes a lot of problems. This is where a lot of people turn to buffering and artificial stimuluses to feel good, like food and chocolate and sex and pornography and lots of artificial ways to try to feel good. And it causes problems in our lives, in our families, in our relationships. It's not natural. Um, when we can embrace the concept that life is supposed to be 50-50, and that's perfect, it really helps us to allow these negative events when they happen in our lives and not resist them or try not to feel them or accept them. For example, when we experience a tragedy or death of a loved one in our life, we're not going to want to feel happy or content or at peace. We can just allow the negative emotions to come and, lean into them, feel them in our body, actually feel, the pain in our stomach and in our chest and the heaviness and just embrace that ache of sadness and grief and mourn the loss that we feel. It's okay. And when we lean into our emotions at times, that's how we process them. That's how we let them flow through our bodies and then leave us. It's it's when we embrace negative and positive emotions that we just feel them more naturally and fluidly, and we don't have all these pent up feelings of anxiety and resistance when we try not to feel them. There is a purpose for feeling both positive and negative emotions in our lives. It allows for our learning and growth. We don't need to fear negative emotions. The worst thing that can happen to us when we feel a negative emotion is a feeling. That's it. The worst thing that can happen, if you imagine the worst possible thing that can happen, the death of a child or a spouse or a parent, or a tragic, horrifying death, the worst thing that can happen from this event is a feeling. And that's okay. It's part of life. When we learn to recognize that and not be so afraid of our emotions, especially negative ones, then it gives us power over them. It actually gives us some emotional resilience to handle them more easily in our lives and to deal with negative events as they come into our lives. And if you're listening to this podcast, you, like me, possibly are experiencing or have experienced some tragic things in your life. Most likely you were married and, like me, never expected or intended to get a divorce. And you ended up divorced despite that. And there's a lot of negative emotions that go along with that: sadness and heartache and heartbreak and betrayal and so many things. And it can really help you process those emotions if you just accept that it's part of life and, you know, it's okay. And the worst thing that can happen is that you feel negative emotion, and that's okay. Feel it, lean into it. There's a time for it, and then there's a time to let it go. And sometimes, these emotions need to come and go. It's not like we can set a time limit of, I'm going to feel this emotion for 20 minutes and then that's it, or for 20 days and then that's it. They'll come and go at different times, at inopportune times. They'll just pop up and you'll just find yourself crying in line at the post office. And that's when you feel it. But that's what happens, and it's okay. It's all part of life, and it's part of our learning and growth. And I think embracing and accepting the concept that this is exactly how life is supposed to be, that God designed our lives to be this way, that we all experience positive and negative emotions. We all have very negative, unexpected events happen in our lives, and it's okay. we can learn and grow from them and become the better people, the better women and mothers that we were meant to be through these experiences, then that's the best thing that can happen is we learn and grow from them and we grow better. And I think as we accept this idea and embrace this thought of 50-50, it gives us courage to embrace some of these negative emotions that come along with, negative behaviors of those we love and not be afraid of them. And, here's another thought for you. Not all negative emotions are bad. Um, Emotions like nervousness and courage, those I would say those fall on the negative side of the spectrum. But they can be good. They can be really good for us. It takes courage to get up and speak in a church meeting. And it's good for all of us to, face those negative emotions and move towards our fear and overcome them. And it really helps us gain confidence. And I think that's why we're all given that opportunity pretty regularly. As members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we all take turns speaking in church. And it's good for us to embrace those fears and get up there and overcome them. And I think that's why we're given that opportunity. But that's just one example of how a negative emotion can actually help us if we embrace it and work through it, reach goals that we would not reach if we didn't, if we didn't embrace those emotions and decide we're going to work through it either way, we wouldn't reach our goal of, delivering our talk or, speaking up for something we're passionate about. Anyway, as we understand this concept of life being 50-50, it can help us in every area of our life. It helps us accept that, many times throughout the day, we might have feelings of boredom or fatigue, but other times throughout the day, we can see a beautiful sunset and appreciate it and love it and value it. And that's all great. It's wonderful. Both are important. And I think we need to get out of this mindset that we or our children or our spouses or our family members shouldn't feel negative emotion, that they should never feel sad or bad or have a bad day. That's just not reality. And that's not how God intended our lives to be. So I want to encourage all of you to accept and embrace the thought that life is always going to be 50-50. And that's just perfect. And especially all of us as mothers know that our kids are watching us, the way we live our lives, the way we handle the trials that we are facing in our lives, especially when you're dealing with divorce. And it's difficult. Our children are watching us, and how we behave will shape who they become. And it's important that we teach them how to handle the negative emotions that they're feeling just right alongside us. And how we handle these situations will really shape who they become. I just really feel passionately about that. And we can grow bitter from the trials that we experience, or we can grow better. And I know the joy of growing better. It's beautiful. There is so much joy and happiness that comes from growing through these difficult situations. And I can speak from my personal experience of going through divorce many years ago now and being a single mother with my 3 children and getting remarried and dealing with the trials of a blended family and coming together with 2 new households. And there's just so many wonderful opportunities to grow and become better. And There is joy and peace and happiness that comes from doing that. And I have experienced that, and I want everyone to experience that. And I can teach you some tools that will help you grow and have joy in your journey. So join me. It is possible, and I can help you. Have an awesome day, and bye, y'all. Are you struggling with the trials of divorce? There is a path to find joy in your journey. I would love to help you. Go to jenzingmark.com to get all the info. There you'll find a free download to help you start thinking happier thoughts today. And you can sign up to receive my weekly newsletter. If you like what you've heard here and want to dive deeper into this work, sign up for a free mini session with me. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. There is so much more. I would love to work with you and be your life coach.